Hello and welcome to the December 2019 Fire Chiefs video message. We just had a little bit of snow this morning, so winter is definitely upon us as the holidays are coming near. Joining me this month in studio is Keith Young from the DTS Enterprise Information Security Office. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Chief.
And you're here today to help explain, to help me learn, as well as everybody in MCFRS, why information security and network security is important and what the threats are. So you're the subject matter expert from the DTS side that has helped us and has worked with us over many years. We talked offline before about how when we implemented the original eMeds or the electronic patient care reporting, that was a part of an interaction between fire rescue and DTS. So welcome to the video.
Thank you very much.
So what are the information security threats that we see here in Montgomery or around the globe?
So there's multiple different threats that are happening on a regular basis, and most people think county government is really not that big of a deal, that you don't have to think about information security. I mean, we have trash barrels and recreation centers, but in reality, we deal with a lot of sensitive information. So we deal with undercover police officer data. We have obviously the 911 call system that you're very familiar with. Mm-hmm. We have patient care records in fire rescue. We have data on about several tens of thousands of people in health and human services, and we process about $200 million a year in credit card transactions. So we handle a lot of sensitive data in Montgomery County government. And the threats are actually fairly widespread, not any different than what you would see in the average company in the industry, but there are a couple different threats that we see on a regular basis here in Montgomery County. And I would say one of the most common ones that's popping up nowadays is what's called business email compromise. So people are sending an email to an individual in the county government saying, I want to get information about this particular budget, or I want to change the bank routing information for a vendor. And so they spoof this email and they will attempt to fraudulently get access to money.
And there was a recent, Baltimore City had a very significant event.
Correct.
Several months back, just locally here about, a local jurisdiction having a IT problem. So, you talked about a business spoofing and vendor information. So what are some of those incidents that the county has faced?
So the county has actually faced a couple of, I would say, relatively minor versus Baltimore that you mentioned before. So Baltimore had an attack of ransomware. So they actually had their systems taken over and they were hit up for ransom in order to decrypt the data.
Right.
Montgomery County has not faced something of that large size. A couple of years ago, we had a couple of very, very small ransomware incidents that affected a handful of departments. But really, the biggest one that we've had recently, which affected some members in fire rescue, was when they were phished. So someone sent an email saying, I need you to click on this website, enter in your credentials to access important county information. They provided their user ID and password, and their accounts were actually accessed, and their banking information was changed. Correct. So that happened across about 35 people in the county government. That's probably been the biggest one, but we're constantly under attack. It's a constant thing that we see about 2.5 million times per day.
2.5 million times per day towards the county?
Towards the county government, correct.
Okay, that's an amazing amount of numbers.
Correct. And as you can see on the picture right here, it's happening all over the globe to everyone. We're not anything unique. We're not a specific target right now, but it's a regular occurrence for every industry, for every type of organization out there.
Okay. So when you get one of those emails or when you suspect you have a security incident, it's probably better to say, what is a security incident?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple different common security incidents that we see. The first is that you get an email saying, click here, here's a specific file, it's coming from someone who you don't know, or in some cases, sometimes that you do know, saying click on this file or run this or go to this website, and it just seems fishy. Another one is if people lose their county issued or even their personally issued cell phone that has access to county data. That's another type of security incident. And finally, I would say is if your computer starts, lack of better terms, acting abnormal, then that is also another common example of a security incident that might mean a infection due to malicious code.
Right, your computer's you do something and then your computer's running all additional programs or acting and reacting in different ways. So with those types of incidences, what do the users, what do the men and women of MCFRS need to do? How do they report that?
So the best thing that they should do to report that is just call the IT help desk at extension 72828, or forward, if it's an email like a phishing attack, to forward the email to help@montgomerycountymd.gov. And what that does is that goes into the county's IT help desk and then gets sent to my team for research. And usually we'll respond in less than a couple hours and be able to do more diagnostics and figure out what's going on. But again, the best thing is like they say in the federal government, if you see something, say something. Right. And I would say the same thing here, is if you suspect something, even if you are not really concerned, but you're just curious it might possibly be something bad, just send it to the help desk so that my team can begin the investigation.
And if you see something and send it, and then you hear about a coworker or a shift mate that has seen something as well, you want everybody to send it to you and not presume that somebody else did.
Correct, because the more information that we have, the more data we can collect, the more that we can do an investigation and say whether it's really a bad security incident or just something that's not malicious where some user got a fake email or something like that.
And one of the nuances about those are, once you push that to the help desk, as you said, you get an immediate response that you've received it, and then you get a response back with that information after you've all analyzed it. So do you all, or does the county send out test emails to help us along with our training, or to do some assessment of how vulnerable or how gullible we are in falling for some of these actions?
So that's a great question. We actually have been sending out about 2,500 emails per month to selected individuals since February, and to simulate phishing emails, to again simulate something where we're trying to get an employee to click on a link or to provide their credentials. We now, as of December, are going to be expanding that out to all county employees. So in the month of December, people are going to start to get fake phishing emails trying to get them to click on a link. And the program is not designed to be punitive. We're not out to hit someone on the wrist with a metal ruler. Instead, we're trying to train them of here's how to detect what a phishing email might be. Right. Here's how to see some common things that the phishers tend to use, and then to train people on top of the regular monthly training that we do for all employees.
Okay, so let's talk about that training. So that training had been every 2 years, and it's been adjusted now to the every month cycle. So what was the adjustment, and what was the idea behind the frequency change?
So what we found when we did it every 2 years was that employees would sit down and do the hour-and-a-half long training and just bang it out and then forget about it for the rest of the 2 years. And so what we changed it to was a couple minutes a month, somewhere between 6 and 12 minutes a month, that gets out to every employee, that changes topics every month. So employees will stay fresh with it. It'll be in the top of their mind. And what we've seen already is a really big improvement of people detecting incidents, not falling for common traps, and just thinking about information security.
So is that dovetailing into more changes coming about the training?
Yes, so we've done now monthly training for the past year that went out to all employees, starting in the new year now, we're going to actually do training. Well, it's still monthly, but it's going to be a lot more interesting and gamified. So the modules are a lot more interactive. They give you scenarios that are applicable to the real world. And also, like I said, I have more of a gaming sense so that people are interested. It's not just a video that they have to click through every month that they just have to droll through, but instead makes it something that they want to actually look at.
And in MCFRS's example, it's anybody who has an Active Directory account. So that includes the career and a good number of the volunteer personnel. So the question about what is our compliance and how does the fire rescue compliance rate, because I was at a station this morning and they wrote cybersecurity training on the board as the actions to do today. So where are we at in our monthly style of compliance to that training?
So MCFRS is in the mid to high 60%, and that's for everyone that's completed training going back to February. So that number is very good, but there's still this gap of 35 to 40% of people that still need to complete the training. And as you mentioned, it's for everyone with an Active Directory account. And the reason that we do that is an Active Directory account actually gives a fair amount of access.
Right.
So you get access to wireless, you get access to a number of county computers, you get access to various different systems. So in terms of risk, it's a fairly high level risk to have an Active Directory account versus just accessing data on an MDT.
Right. So, and that's one thing that you've been involved with, and our folks at the MDC level, that's on a much higher secure platform because that is tied into the CAD system, and that's why what we identify as WebSense is, MDCs don't have access to the general internet, just because those risk in those platforms of pathways. And that's one of the key questions our folks get all the time is why can't I access another URL on the MDC to reference this hazmat reference and all these things. And all of those are vetted through a different process for security reasons. And some do get enabled and some are not enabled. So there's something on the horizon about, it's identified as two-factor authentication. What is that, and when do we see that coming around?
So two-factor authentication is more than just a user ID and password. And the reason why we're implementing it across the county is because of, as I mentioned before, phishing attacks have become extremely common. So if you can click on a website, provide your user ID and password, that user ID and password then is used by the attacker to access various different county systems. We need an additional protection so that just the user ID and password isn't enough. So two-factor authentication is the techie term for what everyone does when they access their bank or access some sort of sensitive website, where it's going to notify you via text message or an app on your phone or an email sent to a different email address or a phone call. And so the county is rolling that out. So far we've rolled it out to all of the MLS or senior management. We've rolled it out to a lot of the public safety managers. DTS is getting ready now to roll it out to non-represented folks beginning in the start of the calendar year to make sure that we then capture all of them, and then we're developing plans of how to roll it out elsewhere across the county. But again, it's to defeat the phishing attacks that have just been extremely common.
Okay, so that when you log into a computer with your AD credential, you'll be asked for entering that code that you just got.
Correct.
From your device.
Correct, and it might be your device, so we're having a couple different options. So for people that want to use their cell phone, that don't want to carry around something different, it's going to be either an app on your phone or a text message. Another option that we're looking at is being able to have it sent to another email address. So if you have a private Yahoo or Gmail, etc. email, another option will be that it calls a specific phone number, like your desk phone or a common phone. And another option that is being looked at is a token, so a little device that you carry around that has a changing number. So again, that you don't have to use your own personal cell phone, but it still provides that same level of security.
And as a reference, the information security and the component there, your office in DTS, POCAR's office within fire rescue, everybody's working collaboratively together around the information security policies. Is it a reference tool that you would push anybody to look at for reference? The administrative procedure for IT, because that was just updated here in the last year, right?
Correct. Actually, there's an update going out literally any day now by the county executive's office to that administrative procedure.
Okay.
So the administrative procedure is 6-7. It's the information security policy for the county. And for the average county employee, it's 2 pages long, and it just says basic security things. Don't share your password. Don't steal software. Make sure that people, if you are working in a secure area, that people aren't walking in behind you. It's very, very simple. It's written for the average county employee. There's a more complex part of that policy that is for IT staff. That is, here's how you securely configure an IT system. Here's how you manage an IT system securely. Again, that's applicable only to contracts and IT staff. So for the average county employee, they should be looking at what's called the Rules of Behavior Handbook, which again is that 2-page document.
Okay. So as a takeaway from this opportunity to talk to the MCFRS folks, and I know you've been talking to other folks as this fall has developed, what's the 2 key points to outline as a takeaway from this talk or IT security?
So I would say the 2 most important things that people need to consider is the first, that the county is constantly under attack, that we're not any different than any other organization, but we're also not, even though we're not the NSA and we don't have nation state secrets, we still have a lot of sensitive information that we're constantly under attack, and people need to think about information security. And the second thing that I want everyone to remember is that just to call the help desk if you see something suspicious, if you see that you're getting a phishing email, even if you think it's the fake phishing email, we still want people to report it to the help desk so that we're aware of it and we can do action on it.
Right, and that's they've always been very helpful, and it's always a tool to reach out, because as you go back through that email, you hover your mouse over top of the email address, and you realize it says, Keith Young at, some other address. It's not, the Montgomery address. There's all those other tidbits to figure out if it's a good one. Better safe than sorry, just forward it to Help IT and let them look through it.
Correct, and it might be something legitimate. It might be something that we let the individual know that reported it, hey, this is perfectly fine, this was just a marketing email, or this is an actual legit email from an individual. But like I said many times, it is just malicious or attempting to get some information.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the information. Looks forward to the new gaming approach to the training upcoming next year, and how that'll help. I do appreciate everybody's effort and diligence in completing the training. We do want to ensure that everyone's doing that. It is absolutely, like you said, 5 minutes, and most of those modules have been very, very helpful and easy to go through. I think a lot of the folks maybe watched each of the 2 videos, but then forgot to scroll through the follow screen and click that OK button at the bottom for it to be classified as a completed month. So that's definitely a 2-part process in that activity. So as you outlined, between our protected health information, the PII, personal information we have on county employees, and as you said, there was about 18 or so of the fire folks that were impacted by that payroll direct deposit change issue. And the county is very gracious in making the corrections and getting funds into the accounts that Friday, but that was a big impact to those folks who had their payroll routing information changed, and that's just a very small example of what we do. So thank you for joining me here.
Thank you,
for
Chief.
this information. One of the things that as we come about every month is to recognize somebody within the department. This month, actually this evening, Greg St. James from Volunteer Services is being recognized as a Homeland Security Mission award for his leadership among the CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team. So the process of bringing men and women from outside of fire rescue together, making them organized in these small community teams, prepared for basic emergency activities, first aids, light search and rescue, aerial rescue, be able to assist in evacuations. We've seen them many a times, and they're a collaborative team that both fire rescue and emergency management has utilized and will in the future utilize to assist. So kudos to Greg for all the hard work that he has done, and recognition of the award that he's being bestowed with as a mission award from the Homeland Security partners. So thank you, Greg, and thank you to all the men and women of CERT. Again, it is December. It's got a little bit of snow on the grass this morning. Definitely been cold. We got into the low 20s here over the last weekend. So everybody needs to be prepared for those cold, wet nights as we prepare for the holidays and different family gatherings. Let's take that extra time to be thankful for what we have amongst our friends and family, and be safe in our activities. So until next month, thank you much.